Alexandre Pantoja is one of the most consistently overlooked champions in the UFC, despite an impressive resume, thrilling fighting style, and a rich backstory. To understand why Pantoja is underrated, we need to unpack multiple layers: his career trajectory, the perception of the flyweight division, his fighting style, his resume of opponents, and the lack of mainstream media attention. Here's a deep dive into why Alexandre Pantoja deserves far more credit than he typically receives. 1. The flyweight division's historical disrespect. The root of Pantoja's underappreciation starts with the UFC flyweight division itself. Ever since its inception in 2012, the 125-pound weight class has struggled to gain the respect and spotlight enjoyed by heavier divisions. Despite Dominic Cruz and Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson delivering elite performances, casual fans often dismiss the division as less exciting due to fewer knockouts and smaller frames. In 2018, the UFC even threatened to eliminate the flyweight division entirely, releasing multiple fighters and reducing promotion for flyweight bouts. That uncertainty put a damper on any rising contenders, like Pantoja, who had the potential to shine but were operating under a dimming spotlight. 2. Pantoja's background. A fighter's fighter. Alexandre Pantoja is a purist's favorite. Coming from Brazil, he doesn't have the media polish or trash-talking bravado that gets fighters like Sean O'Malley or Conor McGregor attention. Instead, he quietly built a reputation through action, grit, and skill. He's been in the game a long time. He won Season 24 of the Ultimate Fighter Tournament of Champions, a season specifically built to find challengers for then-dominant champion Demetrius Johnson. He was the top seed on that show and beat some legitimate talent, including Brandon Moreno. Yes, the future champion and one of the most beloved flyweights ever. Despite this pedigree, he didn't get a title shot for years. Instead, he was sent through the gauntlet of killers: Formiga, Figueiredo, Ascaro, Cape, Royval, and he either beat them or put on wars. Most fighters with that resume get fast-tracked. Pantoja barely cracked the top 5 rankings conversation. 3. Win over Brandon Moreno. Twice. The Brandon Moreno rivalry is a perfect example of Pantoja's quiet dominance. He beat Moreno twice, once on Tufe and again in the UFC in 2018. Moreno would go on to become a fan favorite known for his charm, storybook journey, and exciting fights with Davison Figueiredo. Yet even after Pantoja beat Moreno twice, the UFC never seriously pushed him into a title shot conversation. Why? Timing played a role, as did branding. Moreno was a media darling, Pantoja stayed out of the spotlight. But from a pure fight perspective, Pantoja had proven he was at least the equal of the future champion. Still, he remained in the shadows. 4. Gritty, violent, and technical fight style. Casual fans sometimes miss just how exciting Pantoja is in the cage. He's not a point fighter, he's a finisher. He fights with a wild blend of BJJ mastery, durability, and pressure. Whether it's his rear naked choke win over Royval or his back-and-forth war with Manel Cape, Pantoja brings violence every time. He's not a safety-first technician. He walks through fire, accepts risk, and usually comes out on top. That type of style should be fan-friendly, but again, without the UFC marketing push or media narrative, that excitement has been underplayed. 5. Dominance in grappling. 1. One of the hallmarks of Pantoja's game is his top-tier Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's not just dangerous on the ground, he's opportunistic, creative, and aggressive. In an era where many fighters use grappling for control and decision wins, Pantoja hunts finishes. In his title win over Brandon Moreno at UFC 200, he showcased championship-level grit, was a Fight of the Year contender, and Pantoja not only outlasted Moreno, but outpositioned him in crucial scrambles, proving he was not just a grinder, but an elite-level technician under pressure. 6. Delayed recognition, despite championship resume. Even after he became champion, Pantoja's reign hasn't received the attention it deserves. His win over Moreno was monumental, beating a beloved champ in a war, but didn't get the media buzz of O'Malley versus Boss. 7. Beating the best of a boss that was above him in weight, but didn't get the media buzz of a boss who had never won a championship before. 8. Moreno was the best of a boss that was above him in weight, but didn't get the media buzz of a boss that was above him in weight. 9. Beating the best of a boss who was higher than anyone in the world, but didn't get the media buzz of a boss that was above him in weight. 8. Praetorian came out. PTSA, Sterling or Adesanya vs. Strickland, after defending his title against Steve Ursay in May 2024, a last-minute challenger who gave him a surprisingly tough fight. Pantoja faced criticism rather than praise. The narrative turned to, is Pantoja slipping? Rather than, look how he survived a dangerous, surging contender on short notice. This kind of skepticism doesn't get aimed at other champions as quickly. Pantoja has had to prove himself multiple times, even as the reigning champion. 7. Lack of media presence. Pantoja isn't a natural in front of the mic. His English is improving, but he's not the type to headline press conferences or sell fights with sound bites. That might not matter to hardcore fans, but in a sport driven by pay-per-view numbers and viral clips, fighters like Pantoja, who speak through their fists, often get left behind in terms of recognition. Compare this to Moreno, who embraced media, did interviews in both Spanish and English, and leaned into his personality. Pantoja, by contrast, remains a humble, reserved figure who lets his fight record speak for him. Unfortunately, in modern MMA, that's often not enough. That's still overlooked. If Pantoja continues to defend his title, we could be looking at one of the best flyweights of all time. He already has wins over Moreno, Royval, Perez, Cape, and Kara France. He has strong ties to the division's history, a resume of violence and finishes, and a title belt to back it up. Still, he's not in the GOAT conversations yet. Not because he doesn't belong, but because the narrative hasn't caught up. Pantoja might be building one of the strongest flyweight legacies in MMA, and he's doing it without the fanfare others have enjoyed. Conclusion: a champion in the shadows. Alexander Pantoja is underrated because the system rewards flash over substance, talk over toughness, and marketability over merit. But if you peel back the surface and look at what Pantoja has accomplished, you find a fighter with elite wins, a fan-friendly style, and an iron-willed mindset that defines champions. He may never become a superstar in the mold of Conor McGregor or Israel Adesanya. But for fans who value the craft, the journey, and the grit it takes to rise through adversity, Pantoja is the embodiment of everything that makes MMA great. If the UFC and fans alike start to recognize the brilliance of his career, Alexander Pantoja could finally get the credit he's always deserved. Until then, he remains the most underrated champion in the UFC.